right, good evening to the September 13th, 2022 Board of Selectmen, soon to be Select Board meeting. I'll call it to order at 6:11. And our first order of business will be public comment, if any. All right, seeing Nathaniel.
Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for allowing the public comment. Nathaniel K, 7 Dean Road. I see from the agenda today, I was delighted the other week when we had briefly a quorum for Concom, and then saddened to hear that we lost the quorum just a short while after that. I thought that perhaps we would accelerate the appointment of people and see that only one name is listed on this evening for appointment of Conservation Commission members. Is that the case? Is there a possibility to accelerate this process so that we can finally put an end to this very long process?
As soon as Laura gets on, they'll have quorum again. And I mean, it's like I said before, same response as the other meetings. I'm still waiting to see how the committee interacts with each other once they get going. So no acceleration.
Okay.
All right, Toby.
Thank you. Toby Arsenian, 95 Granite Street. To revert to last night's town meeting and the article on the community preservation appropriations, I asked questions about the project for Evans Field and received no answers. I asked if the town had got the easement that we needed for the MBTA for access to Evans Field from the parking lot. Paul Murphy answered for the Board of Selectmen and completely ignored that question. It's certainly relevant because it may be a marvelous space and a marvelous project, but it's not so much use if there isn't public access to it. Legally, there's access over Evans Way, but no place to park, and that's not the access that people use. I also asked if there had been any matching funds for the project, and Paul Murphy dismissed that concern as irrelevant, saying that it was a town project, therefore it didn't apply. He couldn't be more wrong. In fact, Ruth George made the point at some length when she was talking about Thatcher Island and the projects there, that over the course of years, private groups, the association had kicked in over $3 million. So it's also one, as I said, one of the standards for approving projects. Not a determinative, but a standard. And again, no response. Sarah Wilkinson, who was there, was one of the sponsors of the project and certainly should have known whether they did indeed bother to ask any outside sources for funding. And I also wish to complain about the responses on the comments, mine, other people's, about the 5 Granite Street affordable housing project for Harbor Light. The issue of how much of the how many of the units, what proportion could be reserved for Rockport residents was raised when it was first coming up for funding for community preservation funds some years ago. And it's totally unaccountable and improper that nobody would know. So the question again is, did Harbor Light ask the state for exemptions from the rule to reserve a certain portion for Rockport residents, and what answer did they get? And the second question is, did your board ask for a certain portion of it to be reserved, and what answer did you get? And I would like to see the paperwork on that when you come up with it. Thank you.
Thank you. Stickman Murphy, do you want to touch on?
Yeah, I just wanted, Toby invoked my name a number of times. I just, when I was speaking about the Evans Field, that is a town-owned property, a jewel in Rockport. The town, I believe, should support that and pay for the upkeeping of that. I'm not opposed to, private funds and fundraising and so forth, but I think initially the responsibility should be at the feet of the town of Rockport.
Thank you. And I will touch on, I admit you might know, I believe the easement was granted. I saw everyone saying, shaking their
Not
head, but
finalized yet.
Not
Not
finalized?
finalized yet.
Okay.
It's been a long process, but it has been ongoing with the T and particularly with nudging from Senator Tarr's office.
Alrighty, and then Selectwoman Donnelly?
Yes, Toby, if you had access to Rockport stuff online, you would see that I posted today the response to the question about what is allocated. I'd be happy to have that printed out and made available to you.
Thank you. I would appreciate that. And I reject Paul Murphy's statement, and so did Ruth George.
And Ruth George, if you'd like to speak on that as well, I see you have your hand up. CPC Vice Chair.
That I did mention last night that money had been raised by the sports group that has been using the field for soccer and for baseball or little league. And they had done the dugouts. They had done a lot of work just recently, thousands of dollars of work of doing the dugouts, the fencing, and something else. So there has been a lot of other money going into Evans Field. And we need to look at all the as Sarah mentioned last night, all the money from different people in town, like Jeff Poposky, who has put his hard-earned money into seed and sod and a lot of the upkeep of that field. I think all of that is other community benefits that have gone into this project.
I don't want to continue to, beat this to it doesn't have any more sound left to it, but I want to make sure that everyone understands. I believe that the town of Rockport should maintain that field. I'm okay with it, and it's great with all the people that have put money into it. That's fine, but I think it's a responsibility of the town to maintain those fields and the fields across the town, and just like public buildings. That was my point. I'm not, I think it's wonderful, all the fundraising and so forth. That's great. But I still, in the end, I think it's a responsibility of the town of Rockport to maintain these playing fields and the public buildings and public spaces, just like all the parks that we have. And I'm sure people, would be very upset if, we stop maintaining Millbrook Park versus Evans Field.
Thank you. Seeing no more public comment, we'll move on to the interview and appointment of Reserve Police Officer Dan Buckley, and I believe the chief's here to introduce him.
Thank you, Chairman Brackett. Good evening, everyone. I'm here to introduce one candidate for Reserve Police Officer. Mr. Dan Buckley is a resident of Gloucester and has been employed by our police department since January of this year as a full-time dispatcher. He's provided some really good quality dispatching services and has learned a lot about the town, the department, and many other aspects of policing that will benefit him in his role as a future police officer with us. Mr. Buckley is pursuing a criminal justice degree at Middlesex Community College and brings with him here 15 years of prior experience in the medical field, working at Leahy facilities in both Burlington and Peabody. So he's here this evening. He's eager to speak with the board, and I present to the board Mr. Dan Buckley.
How are you doing, Dan?
Hi, good, thank you. Can everybody hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
You want to just go ahead and tell us about yourself and why you're taking the next step?
Sure, definitely. Well, the chief gave a good background. I think it'd be good to go into why I would like to work in Rockport specifically. My goal in law enforcement has been to get a job in a community that has a community-minded policing. A lot of departments are switching over to that with the current culture in law enforcement and the current climate. I wanted to find a department that already had that mindset and culture in it. And meeting with the chief early on, I saw that Rockport was that town. And as a resident of Cape Ann, I would love to serve my community as well.
Awesome. I think I'll open up to the board if they have any questions. Selectwoman Donnelly?
I was just going to say welcome, and you certainly have chosen the right force and the right town if that's your goal. So glad to have you. What did you do in your career in the medical institutions where you worked?
I was held several management positions in support services. When I was much younger, I started out in food service,
Mhm.
sanitation, audit preparedness.
Oh.
So I
Ah.
learned a lot.
Yeah. And are you going to be filling a dispatch role when you do join the force officially, or what's the
Well,
plan?
that was one of the options that the chief had presented to me after the academy, staying on as a dispatcher as well as a reserve
Mhm.
until hopefully in the future a full-time officer position opened up for me.
Got it. Thank you.
And
Thank you.
just to clarify, Selectman Dahl, he has been serving since last year, I believe, as a
Right,
dispatcher,
right.
so.
Yep.
Any other questions? Selectman Murphy?
Yes, thank you. Just quickly, what skill set do you think that you bring to the department that you're most proud of?
Out of,
Just your abilities, the things of that nature. What do you feel most comfortable and you think that you may excel at?
sure. I think that I think I have good communication skills and people skills. I think that management, especially in healthcare, has taught me just how to interact and communicate with a wide range of people in a variety of circumstances. It's I have de-escalation skills, which would help in
Very
policing
much
as
so.
well, and as well as serving on dispatch. It's a job that I love. It could be high pressure and high stress, and I think that I excel in those situations as well.
Oh, that's perfect. That's great to hear, and the town's going to be lucky to have you.
Thank you, sir.
All right, any further questions? Selectman Lawyer?
Just brief comments. I certainly welcome you to having that kind of a background, broad background, certainly serves well with regard to the police force. The police force, you are thinking about being a dispatcher, but my thoughts are that ultimately you'll be a full-time policeman, hopefully here. And having the kind of background that you have is certainly useful with regard to all the different tasks that the members of the police force are sometimes asked to perform. So welcome and good luck.
Thank you, sir.
And you answered my question with your opening statement, so if there's no other questions, I'll take a motion.
Oh, good. It's not my motion.
I move that the board appoint Daniel Buckley as a reserve officer effective November 6, 2022.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All right, roll call vote. Selectman Murphy,
Aye.
Selectman Lawyer,
Aye.
Selectwoman Donnelly,
Aye.
and Selectman Brackett votes aye. Motion carries. Congratulations, Dan.
Thanks,
I'm
everybody.
sure the chief will get you going soon, so
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you all.
thank you.
Good luck.
All right, next on the agenda is consider appointment of Conservation Commission member Laura Evans.
Mr. Chair, before we jump into that one, just a little bit of good news that I was able to just share with you and Selectperson Donnelly. Just before we started, we have a candidate who has committed verbally and is sending in a final answer, written acceptance of our conservation agent position. Somebody who has previously been vetted for it by previous members. So it's some good positive news, good positive change there. So we just got some news on that. So I'll be in touch with the members of the commission likely tomorrow to give them some further detail as soon as we get the signed acceptance. But I think certainly relevant to the conversation this evening that we will have an agent on board in the next couple of weeks.
Awesome.
Mitch, how long, again, not to put undue pressure on you, but I am, how long until we have that person signed, sealed, and delivered?
Well, I think we'll have certainly the signed document imminently from them. And I think we'll see them on site in 2 to 3 weeks.
Perfect.
So
Thank
we'll
you.
proceed between now and then. We'll proceed with what's already been planned so that we don't delay any further.
Great. Thank you.
Ready. If we can get Laura unmuted. All right, there we go. You just
There we
want
go.
to tell us about yourself, Laura, and why you chose to go for the committee?
Oh, well, thank
Commission?
you for the opportunity to speak with you tonight. I've been a resident of Rockport for 42 years, have raised my family, 4 kids here. I was elected twice to the school committee back in the 90s and early 2000s. And I've served on the ad hoc water committee for over 10 years now, the last 4 years as chair. And I see the opportunity at the Conservation Commission to kind of extend the work that we've only started on the ad hoc water committee to conserve, preserve, and protect the natural resources of Cape Ann. And I look forward to the opportunity to work with the other members of the committee and the new agent to further that work. I see that this is a real important time on Cape Ann. There's a lot going on, and look forward to rolling up my sleeves and getting to work. I have a degree in English from Barnard College, Columbia University. And as the business that I run here in town is a publishing services business. So in that capacity, I've had a lot of experience reading contracts and legal documents, and I'm a certified Scrum Master, which is in agile software development terms. It's bringing together people with differing points of view and helping to get a project done so that everybody can contribute according to their strengths and meet a mutually identified goal. So hopefully that experience will help on the Concom. And again, thank you for the opportunity.
All right, I'll open up questions to the board. Anyone wants to start? Selectwoman Donald?
Sure. Welcome, Laura, and we're very happy to see you and happy that you're stepping up to join the Conservation Commission.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for your patience. And as we went through this process, really appreciate that. I'm very interested in this Scrum Master certification. I think that will probably come in really handy. Could you talk a little bit more about what's involved with that?
Well, agile software development means that when you're developing a piece of software, you want to have stakeholders from many different disciplines involved in defining what that software is. So marketing may have a different point of view than editorial, may have a different point of view than technical, and so getting everybody to kind of agree on, okay, we're going to do this by this particular date because it's very deadline sensitive, and do it in a reasonable way. So people don't always get everything that they want, but you've got to compromise and you have to work together as a team. And from what I understand about the Concom, that's really critical, because you've got the people who want to do things on wetlands or property in Rockport, and there's the law and there's other stakeholders, and you've got to bring the team together and agree on what to do or not to do.
Right, and comply with the local bylaws and the Wetlands Protection Act, of course.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. That's very helpful.
Anyone else? Selectwoman Murphy?
Yes, thank you, Laura. I was fortunate to serve on the school committee in the 90s with Laura, so I know her work ethic and her ability to get things done. So the town is lucky. Thank you once again for willing to serve the town. But in terms of a skill set, what would you say is the most important thing that you bring to this commission?
Well, I love this town. I love Cape Ann. And during my 42 years, I've rode around Cape Ann 3 times in the Blackburn Challenge. So I've been out to sea. I'm a volunteer on the Schooner Adventure. I'm in the Gloucester Gig Rowers. And I believe I've walked most of the paths in town. And I think it's, I'd love to give back to the town in terms of appreciating what we have here. And I see the Concom as a way to do that.
Continue to give back to the town.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Laura.
Selectman Lawyer?
Yes, Laura, welcome.
you.
Experience is certainly very broad and would be an asset to the Conservation Commission. I was wondering whether or not you had formulated an opinion on the basic change at foot, which is the rezoning of the 12 acres around the train station. Do you have an opinion with regard to the wisdom or lack of wisdom with regard to that?
Well, I don't have a fully formed opinion about what that's going to mean for the Concom. It seems like it's a necessary step and the town does need to move forward. And I see it as a very delicate balancing act. I mean, we as a town are pretty stretched with our water resources, and that's a big challenge. And we've got a lot of abutters, and that's a wetland. That's our well field there. So it's going to have to be a very delicate dance, but I think it's important that we move forward with it. And I do not have a fully formed opinion because I've got to be educated by other members of the committee and by the new agent and by the MACC, the Massachusetts Conservation Commission, on what the law is and what we can do. And I understand that there's changes are being made to what was being proposed. The number of acres has gone down quite a bit. But I do understand and appreciate changes, not just in the wind, it's absolutely necessary. So we've got to navigate as best we can. So I'll work hard to work with all the parties to make that happen.
Okay, when you say it's absolutely necessary, are you referring to the need for low-income housing, or are you referring to something else?
No, the need for low-income housing in Rockport. I mean, it's the law. We've got to, we do have to do it. It's important.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Laura, and for me, I have, what if you disagree with one of the laws or the regulations that we have in town, that it is black and white? How would you reconcile that decision that you'd have to make with the project that was presented to you?
If I disagree with the law?
Yeah, if your opinion is different than what the law is, but the law is black and white, it's very simple, which way would you go on that?
Well, I believe the job of the Conservation Commission is to protect the community's natural resources, and I'll try to interpret the law as best as I can. And again, it's not up to me, it's up to, it's a conversation with other members of the committee, given the particular circumstances under discussion. So whether I disagree or not, I'm not making the law. The job of the Conservation Commissioner is to interpret the law to the best that they can, given the local circumstances. So yeah, everything is not going to fit, Ross, exactly into a box. I mean, I do understand that.
Thank you. Any further questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I move that the board appoint Laura Evans as a member of the Conservation Commission with a term to expire on June 30, 2024, subject to the board committee commission membership policy and completion of the MACC Commissioner Certification Series by June 30, 2023.
Second
I'll
that.
second that.
And I'll do no further discussion. Roll call vote. Selectman Murphy,
Aye.
Selectman Loya,
Aye.
Selectwoman Donnelly,
Aye.
Selectman Brackett votes aye. Motion carries. We are back up to
Yay.
quorum.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Laura. Sure, Mitch will be
Thank-
reaching out shortly, and you guys will getting right
We'll
to
get you your
work.
green slip this week and get you set up.
Thank you, sir.
We're gonna have Laura and Laura on the committee now, so,
Sure.
alrighty.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Laura.
Thank
Thank
Welcome.
you.
All right, next on the agenda is the consent agenda, approval of minutes, if any. And I'll take a motion on that.
I move that the board approve all non-held items on the consent agenda.
Second. All right, roll call vote. Selectman Murphy,
Aye.
Selectman Loya,
Aye.
Selectwoman Donnelly,
Aye.
and Selectman Brackett votes aye. Motion carries. And next, we have town meeting debriefing and post-meeting action items. If you want to open up, Mitch, and before we get to the motion.
Sure, Mr. Chair, thank you. So the primary item that requires the board's action after last night is the need to transmit to the state legislature the article relating to the change of the board's nomenclature. So town meeting passed and provided the authorization to change from Board of Selectmen to Select Board. So we need to move that forward to the senator and the representative and ask them to bring that forward. So you have a motion from council to be able to do that. In addition to that, we will begin the process, should you vote in the affirmative, to start the transition with the physical attributes here, website changes, letterhead changes, signage, things of that nature, to fully change things over. So that is the sole action that you need to take tonight. And then I have a few just general comments from last night on timing and how we'll move forward with other items.
Artie, if you want to tackle the motion first, if someone wants to read that.
I move that the Board of Selectmen petition the general court for special legislation which changes references to Board of Selectmen or Selectmen in any special acts regarding the town to the term Select Board in a form that is recommended by Town Council and is consistent with and effectuates the purposes of Article H as voted and approved by town meeting on September 12th, 2022. Further, that the board authorize and instruct the town administrator to take all necessary and proper actions to effectuate this change.
I'll second that.
And a second, any discussion on that? Now,
Nope.
roll call vote, and I'll practice with this one. So it'll be Select Member Murphy,
Aye.
Select Member Lilia,
Aye.
Select Member Donnelly,
Aye.
and Select Member Brackett votes aye, motion carries. And
Okay.
until that's received back, official paperwork will still say Board of Selectmen, just so everyone is aware until we get the final word from the state, so.
Yep. You're free to refer to yourselves as select board member, but everything, official materials, as the chair said, will have to be that way for now.
How about like Sir Selectman, something, the English. I'm just kidding. I'm just.
We know.
Yes, the other items, we will move forward. The clerk will certify all of the official votes. And then once we get the certification, usually it takes place at the end of the calendar year for CPC. We will prepare the grant agreements for the items that are grants to organizations, and we'll issue those and be able to move forward. DPW is gearing up to start their planning processes and next steps for the projects that are assigned to them. They have a brand new project manager. That position was filled. He started yesterday. I think he was on a couple of Zoom meetings today, the facility and Green Community. So looking forward to having him on board. He's excited to be here. So another set of hands to help move these forward. And I think that is it functionally. The sound, I know, was a challenge. It was a particular issue for those of us on the podium, by the podium. We are in the process, the clerk's office is working with IT on looking at different vendors and options. The acoustics are significantly better in the auditorium, but we continue to try to balance airflow and COVID concerns with being in a more restricted environment in the auditorium versus the gym. So trying to find that balance. We'll continue to do our best, but IT and the clerk's office is working together to sort out a sound vendor moving forward.
Was this a different organization that provided sound for us?
No.
It's the same one?
Yep.
Wow, okay.
It struck me that it was a component kind of setup, that rather than being standard items with regard to the microphones, there were too many different components, and that the input from those microphones created a problem with the different amplifiers because there was more than one amplifier system. So I'm not an electronic expert, but I know from my own experience that presents problems, and there certainly were problems, as well as people not not being able, not listening to the instructions that were given with regard to how to speak into a microphone. And every microphone's different. I had my own problems with the microphone as I started out too. So that's major. There ought to be some consistency there that seemed to be lacking last evening.
Yeah, I think the fact that it's also, as the expert said, an echo chamber in there doesn't help. The acoustics are terrible.
Yeah, I did feel like, I don't know, they kind of knew there was gonna be a problem because we've never had the expert running around like that before. Well, from the past meetings I've been to, going back and forth to each mic.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it was different and it was certainly a challenge. Again, we were not hearing what we needed to on the day as Bob multiple points had to squat down next to the speaker that was behind us. So remedy is in process for that.
Great.
So
anyone else want to mention anything about town meeting?
No, I thought it
Recommend
was
that.
well attended. And a lot of work was done. It went quick. We've been there a lot longer. I think it was 3.5 hours, 4 hours. We did that. We did the business of the town. It was, I'll echo that it was very frustrating because I could not hear many of the comments sitting at the selectmen's table. And I've never experienced this in any town meeting. So I'm glad that we're going to get this rectified so that it doesn't have for the annual town meeting in April. So, but I thought overall it was a good meeting. Congratulations to Melanie Waddell. That was her first meeting as town clerk. That's not right after having her first election, by the way, which was the day after Labor Day. So those two monumental events in her calendar, and she did quite well. So I was pleased with that aspect as well. So, but overall, I thought it was fine. Regardless, obviously the sound system was an issue, but I'm sure we can get that fixed.
Selectman Donovan, I saw you had your hand up.
Yeah, I guess I just wanted to say that I thought that I just want to make sure that people understand that the Board of Selectmen is concerned about affordable housing and the issues that are caused not by anything the town does, but by the effects of the marketplace. The town does not control what the market is dictating that properties will sell for. And it's only fair that assessments bear some relation to what's going on in the marketplace. That's the whole purpose of assessments. So I just want to make sure that people understand that we are very concerned about that, and we'll look for ways to do what we can to try to address some of those issues. But there are things beyond anyone's control that have to do with the fact that we live in a very desirable place on the ocean, and COVID has only exacerbated the property value problem. So it's just important for everyone to understand that we do care, and we will try to find ways that we can help.
I couldn't agree more with Select Person Donnelly. Rockport is a destination and becoming very, very popular for obvious reasons, and the real estate is just getting out of control. And we can't control that. We'll do the best we can to put parameters and what we can, but stay tuned. It's not just happening in Rockport, it's other towns across the Commonwealth as well. My heart breaks for the young kids trying to buy young families moving into town. It's going to be difficult when you look at the price of real estate at this point. And I don't see it going down.
No.
Well,
I am as much concerned about the housing as everyone else who has spoken. Primary issue in my mind, but quite frankly, very few people who ever grew up here could buy in when they were growing up and when they first married. It just wasn't practical. It's practical after doing several things, whether you live somewhere else and you buy a house and you capitalize on improving that house and you move back to town, or however it is, you come back professionally. But very few people grow up here, marry, and are able financially to move into this town. It just never has been. So it's not a new problem by any stretch of the imagination. It's a difficult problem. The component that is frustrating is that so much of the property that becomes available is purchased by people who are retiring here. They come with money to invest, and it's their last investment. They go for broke. They build or they buy nice houses, and the land is consumed. The available houses are consumed. And even when those who are young and have attempted in some way to create an account that enables them to buy a house, they have difficulty coming back here and buying it because the price level is that much higher. So it's a frustrating situation, but I think we can do something and have to do something to sustain the schools. We can't just expect that students from Gloucester are going to sustain the schools. So there has to be a mechanism somewhere.
I will say that I moved back to Rockport after college and started teaching at Rockport at age 27. I was able to buy a house on Hodgkins Road. And I know what you're saying, Herm, but I think it's really gotten to a level where, you know, when you got $1.7 million, how prices for homes, for modest homes, might be closer to the ocean, but without ocean view, I mean, that's concerning. And whatever we can do, I think we got to do. But it scares me. I have to admit, this is becoming a very high-end place to live, and it never was when I grew up. I don't think it was there was the certain aspects of the town, but it had a it was not as high-end as it is now, I think.
Yeah, all right. I'm gonna bring the circle back to town meeting, and I'm gonna thank government bylaw.
Well, if I may interject one thing, this
All right.
is the kind of opportunity that we seldom have. This is an open forum right now. The members of the board are able to express opinions.
So we're talking about town meeting.
I would like to see more of this as we go forward, because there's no other way for us to be able to convey our opinions to each other or to
I agree. Just let me know. I'll put the on the agenda anytime you want. If you want, you know, certain topics or just a straight up open forum.
Okay.
Forum,
Well,
reach out to me.
I vote
problem.
for that prior to, you know, any sort of situation, and certainly housing is one of these situations that we now face. Because certainly we voted down an approach to tempering the price of housing, as was said.
That's the suggestion it would do.
Pardon?
That was a suggestion that it would bring down prices. I think it would have been better if it came to us.
Yeah, it wasn't so much that it would bring down prices immediately, but if in reality the taxes associated with waterfront property were going to keep people from buying in the way they've been buying in, then it would temper the price of those pieces of property and would, in a sense, force down prices everywhere else in town. So we have to think imaginatively about how we're going to do this. Anyway, okay, enough.
All right, back to town meeting. So I want to thank government bylaw. They did a great job. I thought it was it was crisp and it was right to the point. It was out of the way. And so I thank them for that. And we do have Vice Chairwoman Ruth Joy from CPC if she had quite a successful night, if she wants to say anything. Unmuted. Yeah.
We're doing good. We're still pretty much undefeated. I think it really helps to do those sort of backstories of each of the projects. I did get some feedback from some people of how we can, that we need to advertise more about what we're doing throughout the year so people know about the meetings, and maybe put some of the, look at putting some of the applications when they come in, or the ones that have been finalized, with a code and getting them up for people to read somehow, so we can do something like that. So we've got a lot of improvements we can do in the coming years, but it was very successful. I was getting worried with all the questions, but
Yeah,
you did good.
I did like how you gave a backstory for a lot of those items, I mean, I learned a few things. I wasn't around
Yeah.
back then when everything was happening, so it was interesting to learn. So
Yeah.
I thought it was a good job too, and I think you got everything right, everything passed.
Everything passed.
Good, so thank you all for that.
Thank you.
If there's any other town meeting discussion, I'll move on to the next item. All right, seeing none. Mitch, do you have anything else for town meeting? If not, you can go right into your Board of Selectmen Town Administrator update.
Sure, thank you, Mr. Chair. So just starting out with a couple of notices on flu and COVID clinics from our GCAC representative and Board of Health. There's a flu clinic this Friday at the community house from 9 to 12. Folks can stop in, they can sign up online, or they can simply stop in. And the upcoming COVID clinics at the community house, the 24th from 9 to 11 and the 8th from 9 to 11. Again, sign up is available on the town website, as has been the standard. That helps them plan out dosage and what dosages they need to draw up and reconstitute. So it's very helpful to have that done. But certainly we want, the Board of Health and GCAC wants folks to get the shots. So they can certainly stop in as well. The new bivalent vaccine will be there. I know they're working through, there may be some limits at some point on the Moderna because there's a national shortage, but hopefully, that'll get squared away. But they are planning to have both available right now. So we are gearing up now as well. Capital process, the CIPC forms and timeline were distributed to our departments last week. We are moving forward now. They have a little over a month to get those submitted. That's really the official kickoff of the budget process in the budget season. So we are anxious to see what comes back for that. As you're aware, the majority of our capital projects are funded through free cash, which we won't know for several months, but we will certainly go through the vetting and due diligence process leading up to that. And now we're basically in post-town meeting mode, catching back up and getting things squared away that we've had to hold on for the last couple of weeks. So business as usual otherwise.
You can take a deep breath.
Not so much in that office. All right, any other updates from any of the members of the board? If not, I'll go right on. Yep.
I'll make a quick comment.
Yep.
The letter that we received from Reverend Matt with regard to the he was thanking us for the CPC support for doing the tower at the Baptist Church. It was unique and interesting in that the bell that used to be in the Congo Church, which was made by Paul Revere, is coming back to the Rockport Baptist Church. How ironic. Anyway, I just wanted to mention it to anybody who had not heard it.
I thought that was pretty awesome too. When I read that, I was very pleased. So very happy that this project is moving forward.
All right, I'll open it up to public comment now for the second round tonight. And we have Laura.
Hi there, Laura Evans, 77 High Street. I just have 3 quick comments. One is last night, for the first time, both my husband and I had trouble with the clickers at the fall town meeting. And I wrote to Melanie, Melanie Waddell, the town clerk, to see and gave her the device number on the back of my device because I was not getting that green sign that you need to make sure that your vote was recorded. And the people at the desk said, oh, there might be a battery problem with that. So I just got there in time for Article G, but I don't believe that my Article G vote was counted. And so that is kind of disturbing. And the second point is I think the books are hard to follow. Generally, if you have a running head on a page of a book, you can always know where you are within that book. But the multi-page booklet is I found really hard to follow at the fast-moving meeting. And I'd be happy to volunteer, before the next town meeting if you want me to take a look at it and indicate. It's you can do it in Word or something, but it's much easier to follow if you have a running head or a running foot on the page. And then the third point is that it really is disturbing to see Tom Mikas's screensaver here that he's out to pasture. He is on the ad hoc water committee and he has not been sworn in yet. And we really desperately need him. We're down. And I really plea that the selectmen to give Mr. Mikas the same exemption that you offered Monica 2 months ago so that he can continue to serve the town. I've worked with the man for 3 or 4 years and he contributes a lot to this town and we're much poorer with him standing back. So
Well, I mean, just to clarify, we're not holding him back from being sworn into your committee, so I just want to make sure that's clear. All right, next up is Toby Arsenian.
Toby Arsenian, 95 Granite Street. I thought that what Ruth George had to say about notifying the public about the items coming forward, the projects for community preservation as it happens, is right on the mark. And indeed, your board could and should help with that. That would be at any of your meetings. You would announce that whatever projects, by name are coming up at their next meeting and, the time and the date. So it would take all of a few seconds and could easily be done. That's if you wish to forward her worthwhile idea. The other thing that would be most helpful with the whole presentation of community preservation projects would be to schedule the public hearing. They call it a public informational meeting before they vote on the projects. That's the one point at which public comment might have any conceivable use. Afterwards, it's a matter of saying, oh, I don't like what you've done. It's a matter of recriminations and no good will come of it. So after they've made the decision on the funding. With regard to your comments about the prices of property in town and the recently rejected Article G, you all recognize the problem. You say you need to do something about it. That was John Penaloza's attempt, which met with a crashing failure. Conceivably, there would be other approaches. And perhaps rather than stage a general meeting, you might research other possible approaches to restructuring the taxes, all of which would require permission from the state. And once you've got the information, hold a public hearing. If you simply hold public hearings without first researching the possibilities, they are just gab fests. But if you would be willing to, you or the assessors both, to research other possible approaches, then it might be worthwhile indeed to hold a hearing or indeed a series of hearings to let the public know what the possibilities might be and gauge the public response. Could I have a response to that?
I don't really have a response. I mean, if we ever do that research, of course, we'll have informational hearings and stuff like that, and public hearings, if to use that term. And I'm sure, speaking on, for behalf of Selectman Harmon, Selectman Donnie, they're very interested. I'm sure they're doing a lot of research themselves to look into these different tax brackets or different tax to bring affordable housing. I know Selectwoman Donnelly is working with the committee. I think are you the head of the committee? She's the head of the committee to help affordable housing in town. So, I mean, if either you want to comment on that in response.
I would just add that our working group, which is a group of private citizens, is making really good headway on our affordable housing. It's a community land trust, and we actually have one potential property that we're working on, trying to acquire. So we're moving ahead. We'll be filing for 501c3 status very soon with the help of the Suffolk University Transactional Law Clinic. So we're making progress, and we're not going to stop. The goal is to create single and two-family homes, either from existing properties or from purchases. And we've got a very, very strong group of people involved. So I'm cautiously optimistic that we'll be making some progress, and our goal is to apply to the CPC for funding in February with the next deadline.
All right. And then I have Diane Finch, public comment.
Hi, thanks for letting me speak. I'm really excited to hear more about the affordable housing and would love to attend one of those meetings if I don't know where they're posted. But what I wanted to comment on was I lived in a small apartment in Cambridge, 500 square feet, when I was attending a fellowship at MIT, and then ended up back in Rockport. And when in Cambridge, living there full time, I paid so little money on my taxes because I lived there full time. I'm talking about something like $300 a year for, property is expensive in Cambridge too. As soon as we started living in Rockport again, of course, I was paying top dollar property taxes in Cambridge, which to me is fair. And there are people that I know who also had like ski vacation homes up in Vermont. And because it was their second home, they paid a lot more in taxes. So I don't know, I just think there must be a way without having to also raise taxes on people with homes above 995, which can be almost anybody these days. I think it's better to look at examples of taxing those who don't live here much. There are properties in my neighborhood down on Phillips Avenue where we happen to know that people are there only a couple of weeks a year because we walk by all the time. So it just seems like there's a better way than just going for people who live here full time and happen to have high value homes. I'm not anywhere near that value, but I think it's worth looking into other options that would come, meet the same goal that John was talking about. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you. And then we have Olivia from the Greater Cape Ann Chamber.
Hi, yes, Olivia President of the Greater Cape Ann Chamber. So I have some, happy public comment. The Chamber, along with some business owners and community members, have kicked off Christmas in Rockport planning. We've met a couple of times and are meeting tomorrow, and we have experienced some change of leadership of the main planning leaders. So we are asking the community and businesses to consider volunteering in terms of planning the upcoming events, but we're really excited about it. This holiday season should be the best one yet after the pandemic. So I just wanted to share that with everyone. And if anyone's interested in getting involved, to reach out to me at olivia@kpanchamber.com. The Chamber has also started a special newsletter for Rockport specifically called Rockport at a Glance. And it's a little bit similar to This Week in Rockport, where we show upcoming events for that week, along with some business resources and local community and business news. So I just wanted to share that. Thank you.
And I do, Olivia, meeting's Thursday, right? Not
Yes,
tomorrow?
Thursday.
Thursday.
Yes, Thursday at your place. Thank you
Yep.
for letting us meet there at 9 a.m. So yes.
All right.
I
Thank
just
you.
want to say, Olivia, thank you, especially to the Chamber of Commerce. The Christmas in Rockport that's been going on since I believe the early 80s is such a special place, and an event that 4 weeks event that happened in Rockport, and it's something great, and I'm looking forward to participating again. It's really something special.
All right. No public comment, and we do not have an executive session this evening, so I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All right, and roll call vote. Selectman Murphy,
Aye.
Selectman Lilia,
Aye.
Selectman Donnelly,
Hi.
and Selectman Brackett votes aye. Meeting's adjourned. Thank you,
Thank
everybody.
you, everyone.
Good
Good night.
night now.
See you tomorrow.